So let's start by sitting comfortably. And, well, let's keep your eyes open, please, but let's take a nice, long, slow, deep breath. Really feel yourself filling up, and then let it out with a deep sigh. But keep the eyes open. And again. And again. And now please just look around wherever you're sitting, whatever kind of environment it is, the room or the yard, the patio, wherever you are. Just easily look around at all the friendly objects around you. You know, there's the wall, there's the paint. There's my old friend, that painting. How many times have I walked past that painting? There's the couch. You know, these are old friends. We really, hang out with them a lot. And just kind of easily we can notice that all these objects have different qualities. I'm looking at a couch that has a light greenness to its color. It's got, certain kinds of squareness to the cushions and rectangularness to the other cushions and roundness to the corners of the cushions. So whatever objects you're looking around at, they all have these different qualities. And notice how they don't seem to be working at having those qualities. They're just there. They just, the couch is green, the cushions are square, whatever. And all the different objects have different qualities. Right? My walls have a beige quality. My rug has a green and red quality. All those different qualities somehow get along okay. They don't seem to be fighting. And the one quality, though, we could say that they all seem to have in common, one object has greenness, one has redness, one has squareness, one has roundness. But the one quality they all have is beingness. Beingness. Nothing mystical or obscure. It's the most straightforward thing in the world. They all are. They are all being. And just kind of notice that. There's the beingness of the wastebasket. There's the beingness of the floor. The shape and the color and the function of the wastebasket's very different from that of the floor. But the beingness is exactly the same. The wastebasket is, the floor is, the couch is, the air is. The experience of hearing these spoken words is. Just this beingness that runs through everything. It's the primary condition, the primary quality of all these things. We could say it's the one quality if they don't have, then they can't have any of the other qualities. So there's nothing new. This is the most fundamental, we could say, fact of life, but maybe we've just never quite paid attention to it in this way. And of course, one of the things in the room is us. And we have these different qualities, maleness, femaleness, youngness, oldness, whatever, tallness, shortness. And we have this quality of beingness, exactly like all the other objects in the room. And incidentally, exactly like all our friends here on this session, and everyone else, and everything else. So we can just kind of notice that. Just kind of dial in to there's not really anything to do, but just notice this beingness and the effortlessness of it, the silence of it. Beingness doesn't, it's not like a trumpet blast. Although a trumpet blast also has beingness, but the beingness is the silent part of the trumpet blast, and it's invisible. It has no color, no texture, no anything. So what if we just rest in this beingness as we already are? Exactly as we already are. We don't necessarily have to close our eyes. You could just let your eyes kind of relax into maybe vaguely into the middle distance in front of you somewhere. You can close your eyes if you like. Might be more interesting to keep them open for a change, but either way's fine. But we've been resting in beingness in these sessions for, weeks and months here. And we don't have to wear earplugs to close our ears in order to rest in beingness. We don't have to rub Novocaine all over our skin and to eliminate the sense of touch. We don't have to make the pressure of the chair against our butt disappear or the air against our skin. We don't have to get rid of smell or taste. So why should we have to get rid of some colors in front of our eyes, some vision? So either with the eyes closed or just leaving them open in a relaxed way, not staring, not trying to not blink or not picking an object to focus on, just leaving the eyes relaxed. Just leaving everything relaxed. Just resting in beingness. This natural silence. This natural ease. The effortlessness of this being. There's nothing we have to do to be being. We can't help it. Try to get rid of it. Just to prove to yourself that it's unavoidable. So just resting in this unavoidable beingness. Naturally, sounds come and go. Naturally, sensations come and go. And as always, they're fine. Notice how they don't disturb the beingness. They don't interrupt it or detract from it. In fact, the sounds and the sensations also share that quality of beingness, like everything else. So they're also our friends. They belong here. They're in the club. Naturally, feelings and thoughts come and go, and it's the same thing. They also share this quality of beingness, or they wouldn't be here. So they also belong here. They're also in the club. They share that friendly, that deepest, most common bond with us, the same beingness as us. They're our old friends. And just as with all our best friends, we never try to shoo them away, but we don't necessarily take them seriously. We don't have to listen to what they say. It's just there. Just sharing in the sort of warm, friendly commonality. We're all just being together. And completely resting in that, completely Relaxing back into that. Just resting in this beingness. Anytime you feel you've become caught up in something, relax your grip on it. Relax back into this beingness. That simple. It's always that simple. And it's always right here because it's everywhere. Just resting in beingness, resting as beingness. Now, if I were to ring the bell right now to signal the end of the session, is there something you're doing that you would stop doing? Some little sense of, okay, I can stop doing that. If so, stop doing it now. Just drop that little bit of effort or intention or meditation, quote unquote, whatever it is. Just drop it now. And instead, just rest in this beingness that's here after we drop things. This beingness that's still here after we drop things. It's here before, during, and after everything. And take a few minutes. Take a few minutes to bring the body back to a more active state. Okay, how are we doing? Good? Good. Any questions or comments? Yes, Margaret, you can unmute yourself.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was harder for me
Mm-hmm.
to do it. I kept finding my eyes kept closing.
Mm-hmm.
Then once I really got into it, it was like meditating with my eyes closed.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Isn't that
hard.
interesting? Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah. It's great.
now I do want to I want to probe a little bit into this word harder. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we say something is hard, okay, for instance, if I try to balance my little bell here on one finger, that's hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
what we're describing is there's a specific thing, a specific action that I'm attempting to do, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
finding it difficult to do that. Or if I
Mm-hmm.
try to, I don't know, fly around the room, that's very difficult to do,
Yes.
right? This specific thing. So when you say it was hard, what were you trying to do that you were having difficulty doing?
Trying to keep my eyes open.
Uh
They
huh.
kept closing, and then I would
Yeah.
realize them open again because I
Yeah.
wanted to do the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
mhm.
So, okay. So good. That's simple. That's straightforward. And, you know, if they close, they close with, you know, through long habit of practicing with the eyes closed and associating the closed eye position with settling into awareness or settling into beingness. It's very natural that they
Mhm.
would, you know, want to close. Um, by the way, sometimes people will talk about when they're meditating with the eyes closed, the eyes tend to flutter open.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, and actually, anyone here ever experienced that? Uh, yeah, and then they'll say, "Gee, I had trouble keeping the eyes closed," and the answer to both is the same, which is it's fine. If they want to open, let them open, then you can close them again. If they want to close,
Mhm.
let them close, then you can open again.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, but the really interesting thing is when you said, Margaret, that then you found that you could, you know, you could meditate, you could settle, you could just be, you could rest
Yes.
as with and having the eyes open is not an impediment to that. That's
Exactly.
kind of a big discovery, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. No, that was the good part. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
that's great.
Hmm.
Anyone else on that? I want to stay with this because this is a novel thing we we're exploring here today. Yes, Anna.
So with eyes closed open, I felt when they told us that what would you drop if I would ring the bell,
Mm-hmm.
I felt very clearly that I somehow trying to be in meditative state, so it means like half trance.
Right.
And then, but I couldn't feel it with eyes closed because I'm in half trance when I'm closing my eyes. And with open eyes, I felt this half trance and I was trying to drop it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was able to drop it, but in this moment, my thoughts jumped much stronger on me. So it's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
what is trance help us to diminish the thoughts or make them weaker? I don't know. So something like that. No questions, just
Right.
observation.
Yeah. And the answer is that whatever comes along by itself is fine. Whatever comes along by itself is correct. It's there. Its ticket of admission is its beingness. It's there because it be. All right? Anything that we try to do, like if we try to, okay, now I'm going to try to be in a trance, or I'm going to, if you felt that, I'm not sure exactly what you're describing when you say feeling in a half trance, but if it's something that's come along by itself, then that's none of our business whether it's there or not. If it's something you're doing,
This is a condition. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry? It's a
Uh,
condition? Yeah.
the condition before,
Oh, yeah, okay. But there's
you
only one.
sleep
But
and wake up. So
okay,
something like
doesn't
this. So you
matter.
kind of.
Doesn't matter. There's only one question that's relevant here, and that's the question when I made that statement about if I were to ring the bell now, what I said was, is there something you're doing that you would drop? Is there something you're doing now? If whatever what you're calling a half trance state has come along by itself, that's not something you're doing. But then, so if something has come along and you decide to try to get rid of it, then that's doing. That's kind of the opposite of what I'm looking for there with that particular guidance. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is that clear? Yeah, yeah. The whole thing, it all comes back to naturalness. It all comes back to effortlessness. And when once in a while I'll bring in something like that. What if I were to ring the bell now? And what are you doing to be meditating that you would go, I can stop doing this? That's all I'm looking for. If you're going, oh wait a minute, this thing's going on, I have to get rid of it. That's introducing effort rather than dropping effort. Simplest thing in the world. Are you trying? Are you not trying? We know the difference. Trying, whatever we're trying to do, it feels a certain way to try. When we let go of trying, when we relinquish trying, it feels like that. We all know the difference. It's not, we can make it complex by, but this condition and that condition and this happens and this seems to correlate with if I have more thoughts or fewer thoughts. That's all just a bunch of blah blah. That's just a bunch of story, none of our business. You stick with the simplicity. Effort, more effort, less effort, no effort. It reminds me in a funny way, um, some years ago, um, a friend of mine was going through, he was having trouble with his marriage. And he was, it was one of these situations where, you wake up in the morning and the very first thing that happens is your mind is going around and round about, but this factor and that factor, and we've got that, and we've got that, and we got the kid and this situation, and I feel this way, but I feel that way, and she's this way. And and he was talking to me about it and kind of going through all of this, complicated. It's a lot of complications going on. And what I said was, and this is actually when I was still living in Plainfield, New Jersey. And I was going to work every day teaching at the Pingree School. And when I would come home in the evening, I would come up Watchung Avenue, and I'd get to the light. Our house was on the corner, and then it's a left turn, and then a left into the driveway. And I would get to the light. Usually I'd have to stop at the red light, and I could look over. We had one of these semicircular driveways, and I could see I noticed if my wife's car was there in the driveway or not. Right? And if her car was there in the driveway, I felt happier. And if it wasn't, I felt a little bit of loss. And I explained this to my friend, and I said, all this stuff, what it comes down to, when you see the car in the driveway, do you feel happier? Do you feel better? You feel you're anticipating? It's a joyful anticipation to be with her, or is I really prefer, I'd be looking forward to a better afternoon if it was not there. It really comes down to that. And at least in that person's case, that was what he needed to hear. That sliced through all the complications for him. That to see, it comes down to something that simple. And that kind of slicing through to the simplicity, really, that can, I think for a lot of things, we look for that. What's the knife that I need to slice through to the simplicity of this issue? But in the case of meditation, it's clear what the knife is. They call it, in the traditions, they call it the sword of discrimination. It's called viveka, discrimination, the sword of discrimination. And in this case, it's very simple. Effort, non-effort. And we know what non-effort feels like. Once this Dharma teacher from Jamaica that Yafa and I used to go see, Muji, he was talking about having your thought, and he said, just drop it. And someone said, but how do I drop it? He said, you drop it like a hot potato. He said, everyone knows how to drop a hot potato. That's how. Good. What else? And what else about, I'm really interested in your experience of, how many people kept your eyes open for all or much of the session? You don't get a bad grade if you closed them. It's okay. Okay. So I'm just interested in your experience of that. And anyone else have something to report? Yeah, Laura?
So that was really interesting. And the minute when you said, if I rang the bell now, what would you do? Mm-hmm. What are you holding on to? I immediately allowed myself to close my eyes.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because it did take a certain effort that I wasn't used to.
Right.
And so that's all. It was really interesting. And then I had them closed for a while, and then I was able to open them again, and it was more comfortable, interestingly.
Right.
So.
Right. And that's exactly why, if you're feeling, oh no, I really want to close the eyes, let them close. Mm-hmm. And then find that comfort and open them again in that comfort.
Yeah, it was surprising. Mm-hmm. It was good.
Yeah. And you found that, like Margaret, did you find that, oh yeah, pretty much with the eyes open, I can just sit and just rest as awareness?
I did. It felt a little trickier to get there because I've got their, visual distractions, mm-hmm. and it not unlike thoughts. Right. But it was just, and I know I'm not supposed to manage it, but I did, there is that sense still that you're trying to figure something out a little bit. And mm-hmm. so
get it right.
Yeah.
Find the angle. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. It seems that way.
Yes.
And I know when you hear me saying it seems that way, you know that what that means is it's not actually the case that it is that way. Just provisionally for a while, it seems that way. Right. Yeah. But also I want to point out the language. You said I have all these visual distractions. Right? You have all these visual sensations. All this visual input. What makes it distraction? What makes it so that it's distraction, or is it distraction? Or is that just a thought?
Right. It's just a different way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in fact, if we've all learned, hopefully we've all learned over our days and weeks and months and years of practice of just sitting, just being, with the eyes closed. Oh, okay, sounds can be there, and they're not a distraction. They're just part of the landscape of beingness. They're part of the landscape of awareness. Sensations can be there. Thoughts can be there. Why can't visual sensations be there? Why do visual sensations, do they inherently have to equal visual distractions?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And in fact, if we recognize them as this kind of, and I emphasize this kind of commonality, this friendliness, we're all in the beingness club together, that all these like friendly, they're all like part of the Sangha here. They're helping us meditate. They're being along with us. They're cluing us in. They're amplifying the signal, as it were. Yeah, Danae.
Yeah, I was just gonna say what you just said, basically, that the things around me, they were kind of a reminder to just be. As I looked at everything and I saw how they were just being, it was a reminder to tune back in and just be,
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
part of me, I had my eyes open seeing everything, but then I closed my eyes and I focused on my breathing.
Mm-hmm.
I paid attention to how that felt, because I naturally flowed into that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I felt like, am I doing this right? It felt natural, but I still felt like I should be keeping my eyes open and paying attention to the things around me to help me just be.
Yeah.
So I didn't force myself to switch from focusing on breathing to focusing on the things around me. But so I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or if I should have stuck with my eyes open.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Rule one is it's all good. Rule one is whatever's going on is good. Whatever's going on is it's all good. It's all God. It's all the light. And in particular, the fact that we're sitting here and we're with all our beautiful friends here together, exploring, letting go into the essence of this together, one way or another. Anything we do in that endeavor is good, and beyond that, the rest is all footnotes.
Yeah. So when you said with the bell dropping whatever you may be sensing, I actually brought myself out of it because I felt like there was nothing to really drop because I was into it. I felt like I was in a good state.
Yeah.
But then I wasn't sure if that was what I was supposed to be dropping.
Yeah. No, just effort. Maybe I wasn't clear with that guidance. All I'm looking for with that is there any effort you're doing, anything you're trying to do? And if so, see what happens when you stop trying to do it.
Yeah, I think I was just thinking it through it too much.
Yeah.
At that point.
Right. But can you see that this, Danae, I love the way you tuning into the friendly beingness of all these things. Can you see how that's something we could take on the road, so to speak? When we walk out the door, there's some tendency to feel, okay, we're sitting here on our chair or our meditation cushion. We got our eyes closed. Maybe we got our friends with us and someone on the Zoom call giving us guidance. And, we're in like the little, what do you call it, the little greenhouse, with our little tender plant of meditation. But there's got to be a point where we transplant it into the outside world for it to fully grow.
I agree.
And could you see how having this attitude of, okay, when I walk outside, I'm going to see the tree and the bushes and the kids playing across the street there. They're also all being. They're also all cueing me, reminding me of my own beingness. They're all also just nothing but that beingness, and I can be settling into the beautiful beingness that I share with all of them, with everything, with everyone. Whether I'm calling it sitting with my eyes closed and meditating, or whether I'm calling it, driving to work. And also, you see, but because sooner or later, this really kind of artificial line between so-called meditation and so-called life, that line has to be erased. You know, when we first start to practice, what's very exciting, and appropriately so, it's very exciting that, oh, meditation's really different from the rest of life. There's this contrast. There's this specialness to it. We've been running around, blah, 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 dealing with this thing, blah, blah, blah. And then we settle into this, oh, it's so different. So that's very appropriate. But at a certain point, the appropriate thing starts to be finding the commonality between here and here. And it doesn't mean that we lose the beautiful silence here. It's that the silence comes out to here. That somehow, and it sounds, logically it's a paradox. Logically, wait, how can it be that all those noisy kids across playing in the street are silent? Well, their beingness is silent. Their beingness is, how can it be everything has the sameness? When the beingness is the same, and they're all being. And to say that if you say that to someone who's not had this experience that we've all had, it just sounds like, it sounds like poetry or something. Well-intentioned poetry or some nice Facebook sentiment, something you put on a refrigerator magnet or something. But we know that it's more than that. We know it's an experience, and that experience keeps getting deeper, keeps getting clearer. So whatever again, it's your practice. No one's in charge of it except you, and really not even you. So, if you feel to play with this, and I really emphasize the word play. I think it's really good to have a playful attitude toward this stuff. Start playing with. Sometimes in your practice you have the eyes open, sometimes closed. Open for a while, closed for a while. Because you're all advanced practitioners now, right? You've all, usually beginners, it's just much easier to tell them to close the eyes. But when you as you become acclimated to resting as awareness, resting as beingness, you can start to discover that, if I don't have to put in earplugs, why do I have to close my eyes? What's the difference? What's the difference? And it can seem a little bit rocky at first, making that adjustment, and that makes perfect sense. But I think you'll find that it's worth it. It's worth it to deal a little bit with that rockiness, to start to gently introduce some of this eyes open practice, just because it helps accelerate the erasing of that artificial line between practice and life. Accelerating, finding the beingness, finding the silence everywhere. Yes, Yafa El.
I found it interesting also because, for many years I did Dzogchen Tibetan practice that was eyes open, and I could sit on a park bench or whatever, and I was able to just kind of keep my eyes open and be. But this was more difficult to me because of the screen. And somehow it was like, maybe it's just because we're accustomed to just looking at all the stuff on the screen, but I had to really keep myself from looking at the screen, because it just, as Laura said, there are distractions in the room, but the screen kind of implies stuff that we're engaging in.
All right, and you were stuck with my mug on there.
Well, I have it on gallery view, so I've got everybody's.
Oh, okay.
But I had to consciously not look at the screen, because otherwise, and I don't know if it was just like an automatic mind, visual, eyes and mind thing, that screen means engagement.
Right.
So, and even as I say, compared to just sitting on a park bench and people walking by or birds, I could do that
Mhm.
years, for many years that I was doing that kind of practice, but somehow the screen had a different kind of
Right.
engagement that it
Yeah.
was hard.
I guess I would say in this situation, this is, swivel your chair.
Yeah.
Swivel
Yeah.
your chair so you're looking away from the screen. Or if
Yeah.
you're not set up to do that, actually, Charles Genoux, who,
I was just going to
yes,
cite that because he
yeah,
told
go
me,
ahead, talk about that.
well, I asked him years ago.
I should mention, people,
Yeah.
Charles Genoux is this brilliant Buddhist teacher from Switzerland that Yafa and I have both spent time with.
I have, because I work with screens all the time, I asked him once, how do I just get a little break in my day when I actually need to be looking at the screen so much of the time, and if I'm with a producer or something who's right there. So he suggested I just kind of softly gaze at the sides of the screen
Mm-hmm.
or the keyboard, just to take my eyes away from the stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and just gently gaze at the sides or the bottom
Mm-hmm.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's a way you could
Which is
do it.
what
You
I
would
did
say,
today.
yeah, the language that I would use is allow your gaze to rest on the borders of the screen, or even kind of beyond the borders of the screen, something like that. Though in a lot of Zen practice, what they do is they keep the eyes are open but downcast. Kind of like this. They're kind of, so they naturally become something like half open. And so that would be another way to do it. Of course, Yafa, as you know, and Tova, you know this in Dzogchen practice, the the model of it is wide open. The eyes are, I mean, you're not straining, but you don't have them half closed. The idea is, boy, we're not filtering anything out. We're completely jettisoning this idea of, oh, I have to go within somewhere, I have to filter out or reject anything on the outside. So the eyes are open, the ears are open, mouth is open, the posture is open. Even like in Zen practice, in a lot of meditative practice, people will sit with their hands together, maybe cupped in the lap or something. And in Dzogchen practice, you clap the hands down on the knees, so the whole posture of the body is kind of encouraging the mind to just wide open. As one Lama used to say, your eyes, you're like a bird electrified on a wire. And the softening the mouth, letting the mouth hang open, is sometimes explained as, it's like you're saying duh, which is good because that's giving the signal to the mind to give up trying to figure stuff out. Okay, Cynthia, unmute, please.
Okay, so thank you for doing this, because I rarely meditate with my eyes open. And the first time I did it was with you and Yafa on retreat. And it was more of a sky gazing exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do open my eyes, it's usually at the sky, very few distractions. And my place right now is a big mess because I'm sorting through lots of things like many people are doing. And I actually had to I found myself focusing on something I particularly liked, which has nothing to do with any of this. But in order to stop being dismayed at all the mess, I sort of honed in on one book.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a minute, I just let that go as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I did close my eyes because I kept being reminded of babies when they're trying to keep their eyes open before they fall asleep. And then I'm how cute babies are when they do that. And then I start thinking of all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I really appreciate it, because I'm going to definitely try and integrate this into my practice more,
Mm-hmm.
and because I rarely do it, and it is important to smooth out that line between.
Yeah, 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 yeah. All of this in time, and you feel out, what's the timing of this stuff for yourself. But thank you for mentioning that term sky gazing, which is a very kind of central term in Tibetan practice, particularly in Dzogchen practice. As it happens in LA today, we've got this beautiful, beautiful, clear blue sky. But when you go to Tibet, you find out that the bluest, clearest sky you've ever seen anywhere else is actually hazy compared with the skies in Tibet, because you're up so high and the atmosphere is so thin and it's so dry that you realize, oh, yeah, of course the people here are going to meditate gazing on this sky. It's fantastic. So, and that there's a teaching there. You use what's there. You use what's there. If you grow up in a place that's humid jungle, maybe the diving board is not going to be the sky. Maybe the diving board into meditation is going to be the profusion of the foliage or something. Yeah, it all works. It all works. But the final or the later teaching of the sky gazing is that, yeah, it's great, gazing into the open blue clear sky, but that the true sky is wherever you are. The true sky is the sky of awareness. Because even, right, if we're aware of blue sky, that experience of blue clear sky is happening within our awareness, we can say, or within our beingness. So that's still the biggest, the what not really has a size, but so to speak, the biggest, the widest, the clearest, the nothingest, and that is right there in the room with all the clutter in it. And it's finding the space, finding that openness, that wide openness of being, which is the true, sky of existence, finding it wherever you are. In time. And I like your use of that word integrate. That's how we do it. Integrate it. Okay. Diane, please.
So I wasn't able to hold my eyes open, and I have to say I just felt this overwhelming desire to close them, so I just went with it. So yeah. I didn't really experience that much, but what Yafa was talking about is a technique to be able to keep your eyes open and still, be. It reminded me of what we do in the Threshold Choir when we sing for people who are dying. And there are times when you're doing that where where it becomes very emotional, whether it's because the patient or the family members that are distraught, but it can become emotionally overwhelming. And one of the techniques we use is we soften our gaze. And it's amazing how transformative that is in terms of like feeling sometimes overwhelmed by the reality of and the emotional context you're in, to be able to, when you soften your gaze, it does allow you just to be where you are. And so anyway, it was something that it just brought to mind when Yafa talked about how you guys were advised to do it.
Right. And then when you soften your gaze, and that allows you to just be in the face of the distraughtness and, maybe the physical distress and all of that. And I'm sure you've experienced this, that somehow helps open up the welcoming space to allow the dying person and allow the relatives to also find that space of just being.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And that's really our intention in being there, is to be present and to help people to find that. But first we have to.
Right.
First we have to have it.
Right. When we get really good at that, then we don't have to sing any of the songs. You just walk into the room and
I miss the singing part though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but it's very interesting to me that, you know, you've been doing this beautiful work being with the dying people, and that is, I mean, as you know, I've been very eager to get into that work, and the rest of you who don't know, I had just graduated. I'd spent a year practicing with this choir, and they had just told me, "Okay, Dean, you can start going in the bedside calls with us," and that's when the quarantine hit. And in fact, Diane told me that it's the thing you get. You don't get a diploma or a hat. You get a stool for sitting around. And she told me, "I got your stool in my garage, Dean." And then, so I haven't gotten to go on any of these calls yet. But I mean, it's very striking to me as you're telling this story, Diane, how the wisdom of how to transcend, how to just be, to find that beingness, comes out of in this case, has come out of the experience of you and of, other people in Threshold Choir, being in this situation of unavoidable truth. The couple of times I've been with people when they're dying, and especially right at the moment of death, that's truth. There's something very awesome about that. That's the truth of dying, the truth of being born. I had the fortune of being in the room when my daughter was born, and that's truth. That's so true. You can't think your way around it. You can't attitudinize your way around it. You just have to, you have to open to it. And you have to find how to be with it.
In a funny way, what we're talking about is visually, to use your language, relaxing your grip.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's very similar. It's just very focused on the visual.
Yes. Yes. And no, that's brilliant, because we're so used to as it were, gripping things tight with our vision. Mm-hmm. And to come back to the question that I've challenged you all with a couple of times today, if we don't have to close our ears, we don't have to rub Novocaine on our skin, why should we have to close our eyes? And there actually kind of is a reason. And that is, for humans, vision is the dominant sense. Right? That's the one that we're most cued into. It's the one that's most kind of directly connected with our thinking. If we were dogs, it would be smell. Right? Dogs have these. That's why dogs have these long snouts. They live much more in a world of smell than they do in a world of seeing, or so I'm told. And so it makes sense that, and it's a funny thing. We say, okay, and this is actually great. Thank you. This is a little drill we can all do right now. Pick an object in the room, and look at it. Focus on it. As Diane said, grip it with your vision. Like I'm looking at this cabinet now, right? Okay, now don't move keep your eyes where they are, but relax your visual mental grip on it. See, it's not actually nothing changes in your vision per se. It's the mental engagement with what the vision reports back to the mind that you relax. You just let it be part of the tapestry, part of the landscape. The thoughts might still be there. Oh, that's a cabinet, but you're not engaging with it. It's like more kind of, so what? So fine. Try it with something else. Pick some other object. So I'm looking at this thing. Okay, it's a photograph in a frame. And I keep my eyes there, but just relax my mental grip on the visual information. And actually, notice you can... here's the thing to do. Okay, put some object near the center of your visual field, and take your arms. It might have to watch out to not knock your computer over. But take your arms, stick them straight out to your sides. Wiggle your fingers. Actually, start with your fingers in front. Wiggle your fingers, and then as you continue to wiggle your fingers, keep your eyes straight ahead in a relaxed way, but slowly move your arms back. And just see how far back your fingers can go, where you're still seeing them on both sides. So your peripheral vision is actually very wide. Okay, now keep that peripheral vision and just drop the hands. Let the hands drop into a relaxed position. And just kind of stay with that wide open vision. This is cinemascope. Not particularly focusing on or trying to block out anything in the field of vision, just relaxing in the whole field of vision. And actually, there's nothing special about vision. So all this time, meanwhile, oh, guess what? Sounds have been going on. Car doors closing. The trees outside blowing in the breeze. This voice comes and goes. Maybe there's a fan or something in your room. So we're resting in the tapestry of seeing. We're resting in the tapestry of hearing. Meanwhile, oh, guess what? There's still the pressure of the body against the chair, and there's still the temperature of the air against the skin. So there's the tapestry of feeling. Maybe you smell dinner cooking, or still taste the remnants of your afternoon tea or coffee or something. So we're resting in the tapestry of seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching. And also thoughts are there, feelings are there, so it's the tapestry of seeing, feeling, tasting, smelling, touching, emoting, thinking. Not trying to block any of it, not trying to focus on any of it, just being. It's all being with the beingness of it all. This kind of 360-degree openness. And just resting in that. Okay? Are you kind of getting the sense of that? Yeah. And you see how this can, the more we get some clarity on that 360 degreeness, and it's not something we're trying to create. We're not trying to blow up this big bubble of attention. What we're really doing is it's more like we're deconstructing our usual, again, Diane, as you said, our usual kind of tight grip on, okay, now we're focused on seeing, and we're focused on seeing rather than the other senses. Or now we're focused on seeing, and seeing this object and not the other objects. Or we can be so focused on thinking that, you ever do that? You're out for a walk but you're thinking about something and you don't even see the scenery? Yeah. Yafa's smiling because she busts me for that all the time. We're walking along, she's seeing the moon, she's seeing the trees, and I'm like working on a sentence or something here. Good. What else? I see Cynthia and Danae, your hands are still raised. Do you want? No, you're done. Okay. Danae, did you want to bring up another point?
No, that's from before.
Okay, you're okay. Okay, good. Okay. Anything else on your mind? Yes, Lynn.
When Diane was talking, I thought about something that I always do, and when we are approaching a singing at the bedside, and that's basically leaving ourselves outside of the room, so that when we go in, we are totally there, and just came to mind that that's what we're trying to do here, is just being, just when we're coming to the bedside, we're just being there and focused on the people in the room, and we're just there for them, and to just make the experience what we perceive they're needing, or what's filling for them or fulfilling for them. And it just dawned on me that this is sort of the same process, except directed to myself.
Yeah, right. You know, Lynn, it's so interesting to me that a few times in the last several weeks you've referred to yourself as, well, I'm just really new to this. I'm a beginning meditator and so forth. But you know so much more about this maybe than you realize, because of all your work with dying people and all the, you know, the other kind of very kind of selfless work that you do. It's When I started doing prison work years ago, I started going into this maximum security prison in Newark, New Jersey, which I still keep in touch with them, and when we're not in quarantine, I still travel out there several times a year to meet with these guys. They continue to meet now every Thursday night, and my old students there teach the new students, which is great. But when that would come up in conversation, and people would say, "Oh, what you're doing is so great and it's so noble and all that," and right, Lynn, it's like I'd say, "Listen, try this volunteer work. The only drawback is you won't want to do anything else." Right? Because it feels so good to just not be stuck in the me all the time. That it's so, the me is so, it's so small. It's so, and the people that I've known who are really miserable, generally speaking, and I'll sit down with them and try to and be their friend and try to find the most useful way to be there for them, and starting with just listening and not trying to think of anything clever to reply, and really listen. And generally I'm just hearing me and me and me and me, and what I often want to say, and a lot of the time you can't say this, but maybe sometimes there's an opening where they have the ears to hear it. They say something like, "Hey, go work in the soup kitchen." Go. I can't get down in the mud with you and just roll around in all the me and figure out how to get through all of that. But I can tell you how to go dive into dealing with somebody else's problems. It's very liberating. The most intense experience of that I had was when Maggie, my first wife, was dying of cancer. Mm-hmm. And she and I met on a meditation retreat, and then years later Yafa and I met on a meditation retreat. I meet all my wives on meditation
There's a process there.
Yes, right. It's way better than singles bars. And so we had that in common from the very our lives very much were centered on that. But what and largely I think because being a man, I'm generalizing, I know, but in general, I think women tend to know about this stuff from in front just because of the roles that they play. If you're a mom, if you know about taking care of other people. Men are idiots. Men are we're in the remedial class. Usually, we have to get hit over the head with something to start to get the picture. And what I got hit over the head with was, okay, now my wife is dying of cancer, and I have to just completely give myself over to that, and completely, even at home, she's hooked up to nutrition. I had to get the thing with changing these bags and things right for her to stay alive, and it was fantastic. And it was, and no time to do anything else, no time to meditate. And that for
That was
me,
yours.
that's like the real attachment, no time to meditate. But it was fantastic because that was the meditation.
That's right.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, anything else? I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. I'm so grateful to you all for your beautiful practice and the way you keep showing up, and to be able to share on this level, to be able to do what we're doing today with flirting with having the eyes open and so forth. I can only do that with people who are showing up. Showing up for the teachings and showing up for their own practice, and for me that's exciting. It's great. It's great. So I really appreciate it. Oh, something that came up on Tuesday. We had about, yes, Yehudit, you were there, and Yafa, you were there. Laura, half of you were there, right? And came up. We had some time. There was nothing in particular anyone had to talk about, so we did some singing. I introduced a mantra, and I was strumming on the ukulele, and several people anyway seemed enthusiastic and said, "Oh, let's start having some of this maybe at the end of the sessions." So I wanted to check with the Thursday group. Should we try to have some time? Would you like, we stick our toe into that? Yeah, I'm seeing some nodding heads. Yeah, some raised thumbs. Okay, good. Okay, so we'll do that next time. Right now, we got time for the one mantra. By the way, those of you, if you haven't learned this one by now and you're interested, it's on my website on the page about the Zoom sessions. It's on the bottom of that page about the Zoom sessions. So if you want to learn the Sanskrit, it's Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka, it's like location, right? Sanskrit is very close to English and all the other Indo-European languages. There's a lot of roots in common. So loka, like location, world, throughout the world, throughout all the worlds, wherever we are. Loka samasta, some, S-A-M, some, like sameness, like everywhere, everything, all of it. Some asta is like established, stable. So everywhere, spread everywhere equally throughout the world. Loka samasta sukhino. Sukhino comes from sukha. Sukha means happiness. Happiness. So sukhino is to be happy. Sukhino bhavantu. Bha. This BH. It's actually one letter in Sanskrit. BH. And you can, don't say Baha. It's not Baha. It's Bah. Bah. It's like you put your lips together to make a B, and as you release them, you say an H sound. Bah, 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 bah. But if that's awkward, just make a B sound. You won't get a bad grade. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Bhavantu, to bhava. Bhava is to be, to show up, to manifest. So throughout the world, throughout all the worlds, throughout the universe, established, loka samasta, everywhere established in happiness, may we all be. May all beings be happy. That's usually how it's translated in English, simply. And then shanti, 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 peace, peace, peace. Peace prevail everywhere. So, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone. Where's the end?
Thank you.
There we are.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Dean.
Yep.
That was great.
Thanks. Well,
Dean, too.
we are lucky ducks, and you know.
Yes.
Oh, that little voice. Where's that little voice? Is that your boy? No, Danae? No, that's
No, that's my boy,
that's
Lucy.
your little boy.
That's my grandson.
Yeah.
I should.
But, oh yes, let's see this kid. Oh, there he goes. What's his name?
Austin
Austin.
Joel Schultz.
Ah, excellent. Judy, there you are.
Joel.
Yeah. Okay. But you know,
Thank you.
whenever anytime someone says thank you for these teachings, it always makes me think of my teachers, and you know how grateful I am that I had the incredible fortune to meet them, and you know, just keep the stuff going.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya. Enjoy being.